Man buys food for homeless man and discovers it's his father who disappeared 22 years ago. Michael Johnson was hurrying down Times Square in New York City when he noticed a man curled up near the bakery. Without a second thought, he went inside and bought a sandwich and a coffee. As he approached to hand over the food, the homeless man lifted his face. Michael felt the world spin. Those brown eyes, that nose shape, the scar on the left eyebrow. His hand trembled as he held out the sandwich. The man took the food with shaky fingers, and that's when Michael saw the birthmark on his right wrist, the same one he'd seen thousands of times during his childhood. "Thank you, son," the homeless man murmured hoarsely. Michael froze. The voice was different, rougher, but there was something familiar in it. His heart raced as a flood of memories rushed through his mind. Sunday afternoons watching football, the corny jokes at dinner, the smell of coffee in the morning. "Sir, what's your name?" Michael asked, his voice nearly breaking. The man hesitated, eyeing him suspiciously. Years on the streets had taught him not to trust strangers, even those offering food. "Joe? Just Joe," he replied, taking a bite of the sandwich. Michael's legs went weak. Joseph was his father's name. Joseph Johnson had left for work one Monday morning exactly 22 years ago and never came back. The family had searched for years, putting up posters, checking police stations, hospitals. Nothing. "Joe what?" Michael pressed, trying to steady his emotions. The homeless man stopped chewing. Something about the young man's tone unsettled him. It was as if he recognized that voice from somewhere distant, buried in memories he'd rather forget. "Just Joe. No last name, nothing," he said, going back to eating. Michael studied every detail of the face weathered by time and life on the streets. The once black hair was now completely gray, the face etched with deep wrinkles. But it was him. He was sure. It was his father. "Do you have any family?" Michael asked, sitting down on the ground beside him. Joseph paused again. Family. The word echoed in his mind like a far-off bell. Blurred images surfaced. A smiling woman, children running through a house. But they were just shadows, ghosts of a life he could no longer reach. No one," he answered, his voice thick. Michael felt tears burning his eyes. How could he tell his mother, Mrs. Sarah, that after 22 years, he'd found his father living on the streets? How could he explain it to his sister Emily, who was only 5 when their father disappeared and barely remembered him? The sky began to darken, and the city lights flickered on one by one. The street grew busier, with people returning from work. Michael stayed there, sitting on the cold pavement, watching his father eat in silence. "Where do you sleep?" he asked after a few minutes. Joseph pointed to an overpass ahead. "Down there. Got a little spot that's been mine for a few years. What if I could find you a better place to stay?" The old man looked up, suspicious. 2 decades on the streets had taught him nothing came for free. There was always a catch, always a price. "Don't need charity," he muttered. "I'm used to my life." Michael swallowed hard. How could he let his father go back under an overpass? But he also couldn't just blurt out the truth right there on the sidewalk. He needed time, needed to think. "It's not charity," he finally said. "It's just, you remind me of someone." Joseph finished the sandwich and sipped the still warm coffee. There was something strange about this young man, the way she looked at him as if seeing right through him, beyond the dirt and the tattered clothes. "Who do I remind you of?" he asked, curious despite himself. "My father," Michael answered, his voice barely above a whisper. A heavy silence fell between them. Cars honked as they passed by. People hurried along the sidewalks, but there, in that small space on the pavement, time seemed to have stopped. Joseph looked more closely at the young man. There was something familiar in his features, in the way he tilted his head when he spoke. An uneasy feeling began to form in his chest. "Your father. Where is he?" he asked, not knowing why he cared. "He disappeared many years ago, went out to work and never came back." Joseph felt a chill run down his spine. Fragments of memory began to surface. A new job, an argument, a decision made in the heat of the moment. but they were disjointed pieces, like a puzzle with missing parts. "I'm sorry," he murmured, struggling to his feet. Michael stood up too. He couldn't let him walk away like this. He needed more time, needed to be sure, even if his heart already knew the truth. "Wait," he called out. "I work nearby. I pass through here every day. I can bring you food if you'd like." Joseph hesitated. Unearned kindness always made him uncomfortable. But there was something about this young man that made him want to stay, even if he didn't understand why. "If you want to waste your money," he shrugged. "It's not a waste," Michael said firmly. "Tomorrow? Same time?" Joseph nodded and began to walk away, limping slightly. Michael stood on the sidewalk, watching the hunched figure disappear into the crowd. His hands trembled and his heart beat unevenly. He pulled out his phone to call his mother, but stopped. How would he even begin that conversation? "Mom, I found Dad begging in the city center." He put the phone away. He needed to be sure first. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. Lying in his bed in the Upper East Side apartment, he replayed every detail of their encounter. The birthmark, the scar, the way he held the cup with both hands, exactly like his father used to. He remembered the last morning before the disappearance. He was 11 years old and running late for school. His father had made breakfast, buttered toast and coffee with milk, as always. "Don't forget your math homework," his father had said, ruffling his hair. "Already done, Dad," he replied, swallowing the toast in a hurry. "That's my boy. Gonna be an engineer like your old man, huh?" Michael smiled. He had indeed become an engineer, just as his father wanted. But Joseph never knew. He never saw the graduation, the first job, the success his son had achieved. The phone rang, pulling him from his thoughts. It was Emily. "Mike, everything okay? Mom said you didn't show up for dinner." "Sorry, Em. Something came up at work," he lied. "She made that lasagna you love. Saved you a piece." Michael felt a lump in his throat. How had his family survived all those years? His mother working 2 jobs to support them, Emily growing up without a father, himself taking on responsibilities far too soon. "I'll stop by tomorrow," he promised. "You're acting weird. What's going on?" "Nothing, Em. Just tired." He hung up before his sister could detect the emotion in his voice. Emily had developed a 6th sense for when something was wrong with him. The next day, Michael could barely focus at work. He was a project manager at a respected construction firm. But today, the numbers and deadlines seemed unimportant. The clock dragged on. At 6 sharp, he was back on Times Square. His heart raced when he spotted the hunched figure in the same spot. Joseph was there, as if waiting, though he tried to appear casual. "Good evening," Michael greeted, handing over a bag of food. He had bought a meal from a nearby diner: rice, beans, steak, and salad. Real food. Joseph picked up the bag, surprised by its weight. As he opened it, the aroma hit him like a wave of nostalgia. How long had it been since he'd had a proper meal like this? "This is too much, kid," he said, embarrassed. "Michael, my name's Michael." He introduced himself, sitting beside him. Joseph began eating slowly, savoring every bite. Michael watched him, noticing details he'd missed the day before. The wedding ring still on his finger, darkened and worn, the way he wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "Michael." Joseph repeated the name as if testing the sound. "Pretty name. My father chose it, said it was the name of an angel, a protector." Joseph paused with his fork in the air. Something in those words stirred him. A woman's voice echoed in his mind. "Joseph, how about Michael? It's an angel's name." Your father had good taste," he murmured, returning to his meal. They sat in silence for a few minutes. Michael fought the urge to reveal everything at once. He needed to take it slow, build trust. "Do you remember anything about your life before you ended up on the streets?" Joseph chewed thoughtfully. Memories were like water slipping through his fingers. The harder he tried to hold on to them, the faster they escaped. "Bits and pieces. Sometimes I dream of a house, people. but I wake up and can't remember their faces. How long have you been on the streets? Not sure. The days blur together. Years. Many years. Michael's chest tightened. 22 years. His father had spent more time on the streets than at home with his family. And you never tried to look for anyone? Joseph laughed bitterly. Look for who? If someone were waiting for me, you think I'd be here? The pain in those words cut Michael like a knife. If only he knew how many tears his mother had shed, how many nights Emily woke up calling for her father, how often he himself had dreamed of this reunion. Sometimes people search but don't know where to look, he said carefully. Joseph finished his meal and closed the empty container. He was full for the first time in ages, but the conversation left him uneasy. Kid. Michael. Why? Are you doing this? What do you want from me? Michael took a deep breath. I don't want anything, just want to help. Nobody helps for free, Joseph shot back, years of distrust speaking louder. My father taught me to help those in need, Michael said, his voice thick. He always said you never know when you'll need help too. Joseph felt another wave of familiarity. Those words, he knew them. But from where? Your father sounds like a wise man, Emmy remarked. He was the best father in the world. Michael couldn't hold back his tears. Joseph noticed the young man's emotion and grew uncomfortable. He wasn't used to inspiring, genuine compassion. Hey, don't get like that. Wherever he is, I'm sure he's proud of you. Michael almost laughed at the irony. His father was right there in front of him with no idea who he was. Do you have children? He ventured to ask. Joseph closed his eyes. The question brought a sharp pain to his chest. Fleeting images. A boy running, a girl in his arms, laughter filling the house. No. I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe I dreamed it. The confusion was clear in his voice. What do you mean you don't know? There's a lot I don't remember, Michael. Years on the street do that to you. The drinking, the hunger, the cold. They take pieces of your memory. Anger and sadness mixed in Michael's chest. Drinking. His father had lost himself to it. But why? What had happened that Monday morning to make him walk away? What if I could help you remember? Joseph eyed him suspiciously. How? I don't know yet, but I'd like to try. If you'll... Let me... There was something desperate in Michael's tone that touched Joseph. Why did this young man care so much about an old homeless guy? Why is this so important to you? He asked. Michael chose his words carefully. Because I know what it's like to grow up without a father. I know the emptiness it leaves. And if there's even a small chance for someone to recover those memories, that past, it's worth trying. Joseph felt his eyes grow moist. There was truth in those words, a shared pain he recognized, even without fully understanding. I can't promise anything, he finally said. You don't have to promise, you just need to be here tomorrow. Joseph nodded slowly. Michael stood up, fighting the urge to hug this man who was his father and yet a stranger. See you tomorrow then, he said as he left. Michael, Joseph called out as he walked away. Thank you for the meal and the talk. Michael waved and continued on, his heart heavy. He needed a plan. He needed to figure out how to bring his father back, not just physically, but to recover the man who had been lost 22 years ago. That night, he went to his mother's house in Queens. Sarah was in the kitchen preparing dinner. At 62, she kept the same routine as always, as if she still expected Joseph to walk through the door any moment. Hi, Mom, he greeted her, kissing her cheek. Michael, what a lovely surprise. Emily said you've been missing lately. He sat at the kitchen table, the same spot he'd sat in as a child. Everything in the house remained unchanged. The furniture, the decor, even the photo frame with the last picture of their complete family. Mom, I need to ask you something about Dad. Sarah stopped stirring the pot. Conversations about Joseph were rare and always painful. What do you want to know, son? In those days before he left, did something happen? A fight? Trouble at work? Sarah sighed and sat at the table. Why are you asking this now? Michael hesitated. He couldn't tell her yet, not without absolute certainty. I've just Been thinking about him lately. His mother ran a hand through her graying hair. Your father was acting strange those last few weeks. His boss had promised him a promotion that never came. They gave it to someone else. He was devastated. And did you fight about it? Not exactly. I tried to comfort him, told him other opportunities would come, but he shut down, started drinking more than usual. That last night, he came home late and drunk. We did argue. Yes, I said things I shouldn't have. What things, Mom? Tears rolled down Sarah's face. I told him he was being weak, that he needed to pull himself together instead of drowning in alcohol. I said, and that the kids needed a strong father, not a coward. Michael took his mother's hand. Now he understood. The pressure, the disappointment, the harsh words. His father had run from his own shame. It wasn't your fault, Mom. I know. Rationally, I know. But the heart doesn't forget the last thing you said to the man you loved. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. Emily arrived just then, interrupting the conversation. Mike, what a miracle to see you here on a Tuesday. Hi, Em. He hugged his sister. During dinner, Michael watched his family. Emily had grown into a strong woman, a dedicated teacher. But he knew behind her smile was still a girl waiting for her father to return. Sarah maintained her calm appearance, but her eyes revealed decades of waiting and sorrow. How could he tell them? How could he explain that Joseph was alive, but no longer the man they knew? That 22 years on the streets had erased much of his memories. You're acting strange, Mike, Emily observed. What's going on? Nothing, just work, he lied again. Always work, Sarah sighed. Just like your father, lives for his job. The comment hit like a punch. His father had lived for work until work failed him. And Michael? Was he following the same path? After dinner, he went up to the old bedroom. There were still boxes, with his father's things in the closet. Sarah never had the courage to throw them away. He found photo albums, documents, a work ID. One photo in particular caught his eye. The family at the beach, Emily still a baby in Joseph's arms, Michael building sandcastles, everyone smiling, happy, whole. How had everything fallen apart so quickly? He tucked a few photos into his pocket. Maybe they'd help Joseph remember. In the days that followed, a routine settled in. Michael would show up every evening with food, sit beside Joseph, and they'd talk. Little by little, he earned his father's trust. You know, Michael, Joseph said one afternoon, you remind me of someone. I don't know who, but it's a good feeling. How so? It's like I've sat like this with someone before, talking at the end of the day, but it's all hazy. Michael seized the moment. Do you want to try remembering? I can help. Joseph hesitated. Part of him was afraid of what he might uncover. Why had he chosen to forget? What was so terrible that he'd rather erase it? How would you help? We can start with simple things. Do you remember your full name? Joseph closed his eyes, concentrating. Joseph something. There's more, I know there is, but it won't come. And where are you from? Were you born in New York City? No, the countryside, a small town. There was a square in the center, a church, St. Mary of something. St. Mary of what? Try to remember. Joseph pressed his temples. The headache came on strong, as it always did when he forced the memories. I can't. It hurts when I try. That's okay, we'll take it slow, Michael reassured him. What about work? Do you remember what you did? A spark flashed in Joseph's eyes. Construction. I worked in construction, an engineer. I was an engineer. Michael's heart raced. Another confirmation. His father had been a civil engineer, worked for a big construction firm. That's great. See? The memories are there. They just need a little push. Joseph smiled, a genuine smile for the first time. It's strange. Like there's a wall in my head, and every now and then a crack appears. At that moment, Michael pulled one of the photos from his pocket, one where Joseph stood alone in a suit in an office. Look at this. Do you recognize this place? Joseph took the photo with trembling hands. He studied every detail. The man in the suit, the office in the background, the confident smile. That's me." His voice was choked. "What do you think?" "It can't be. That man is someone important. Look at the clothes, the office. I'm just a bum." "You're not just anything. You're a person with a history, a past." Joseph couldn't tear his eyes from the photo. It was like looking at a familiar stranger. He knew it was him, yet it seemed impossible. "Where did you get this?" he asked, suspicion creeping back in. Michael had prepared his answer. "I was researching missing engineers. This photo was in an old newspaper archive." "Missing?" Joseph murmured. "I disappeared." "It seems so. Many years ago." Joseph handed the photo back, hands shaking. "I don't want to see any more today. It's too much." "Of course, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to push." They sat in silence, watching the street below. The sky was growing dark, and soon Joseph would have to return to his spot under the overpass. "Michael," he said suddenly, "why are you really doing this?" The question caught Michael off guard. "I told you I want to help." "No, there's more. I see it in your eyes. The way you look at me, like you're searching for something. What aren't you telling me?" Michael's throat tightened. Was this the moment? Should he tell him? "It's just, you remind me so much of my father. The way you talk, your gestures. It's almost eerie." "Your father who disappeared?" Joseph recalled. "How long did you say it's been?" 22 years. Joseph did the math in his head. 22 years. Had he also been on the streets for so long? And his mother, how did she handle it? Michael had to control his emotions. She never got over it. Still waits. Keeps his things the same way, as if he might come back any moment. "That must be hard for her," Joseph commented, genuine sadness in his voice. "For all of us. My sister was very young, barely remembers him. I try to be the man of the house, but it's not the same," Joseph finished. "No, it's never the same." Joseph felt a sharp pain in his chest. It wasn't physical. It was something deeper. The pain of a loss he couldn't name. "Your father must have had his reasons," he said softly. "No one leaves their family without reasons. What reasons could justify abandoning your children?" Michael's voice was bitter. Shame, maybe. Feeling like a failure. "Sometimes a man thinks his family is better off without him. But they're not, never," Michael exploded. "Do you know how many times I've seen my mother cry in secret? How many times my sister asked why her father didn't love her enough to stay?" Joseph recoiled at the outburst. Michael took a deep breath, trying to regain control. "Sorry. Didn't mean to yell. No, you're right. If that father of yours is alive somewhere, he's a coward," Joseph said, self-reproach in his voice. "Don't say that. You don't know the whole story." "I know enough. A man who abandons his family is a coward, no matter the reason." Michael noticed the irony. His father was calling himself a coward without realizing it. What if he doesn't remember? What if something happened to his memory, Joseph thought. Even then, the heart remembers, even when the mind forgets. If he loved his family, something inside him would remember. Those words gave Michael hope. If the heart remembered, there was a chance to bring his father back completely. "I have to go," he said, standing up. "Same time tomorrow?" "I'll be here," Joseph confirmed. "Michael, thank you for everything." "No need to thank me. See you tomorrow." As he walked to his car, Michael began forming a plan. He needed professional help. He knew a psychiatrist who specialized in traumatic amnesia. Maybe he could convince Joseph to see him. The next day, he arrived at work early so he could leave by mid-afternoon. He stopped by a store and bought clean clothes, toiletries, and a new blanket. Joseph was at their usual spot but seemed agitated. "Did something happen?" Michael asked, concerned. "I had a dream last night, a strange dream." Joseph rubbed his temples. "What kind of dream?" "A woman. She was crying, saying my name, and children. There were children in the house." Michael's heart raced. "Can you remember more details?" "The woman had brown hair, wore a flowered apron, and she smelled like lavender." Michael nearly lost his breath. His mother always wore lavender perfume, and the flowered apron was her trademark in the kitchen. "That's a good sign," he said, trying to stay calm. "Your memories are coming back." "But why now?" "I went years without dreaming of anything, and suddenly, maybe because now you have someone to talk to about it." Joseph accepted the bag of clothes and the blanket. "This is too much, Michael. I can't accept." "Yes, you can and will." Nights are getting colder. As Joseph examined the clothes, Michael gathered courage for his next proposal. "Joseph, I know a doctor, a memory specialist. He could help." The old man immediately pulled back. "No, no doctors." "Why not?" "I don't like doctors. They ask too many questions." "But this could be your chance to recover your memories completely." Joseph shook his head firmly. "I said no, some things are better left buried." Michael realized he'd touched a nerve. "Okay, no doctors. But can we keep talking?" "Talking is different." Joseph relaxed a little. They spent the afternoon together. Michael shared stories from his childhood, carefully omitting details that might reveal too much. Joseph listened intently, sometimes smiling, sometimes with a distant look. "You had a good childhood," Joseph remarked. "I did. Despite everything, my mother did her best to make up for the absence." He stopped before finishing. "The absence of your father," Joseph completed. "She seems like a strong woman. She's the strongest woman I know." "Lavender," Joseph murmured suddenly. "What?" "The woman in my dream. The scent of lavender. Why do I remember it so clearly?" Scents are powerful memories. They stay deeply ingrained. Joseph closed his eyes, trying to capture more details from the dream. "She was in the kitchen, making something. She had flour on her hands." Michael remembered Sunday afternoons, his mother baking homemade bread, the whole house filled with the aroma. His father always said it was the best bread in the world. "And the children?" he encouraged. "A boy and a girl. The boy was older, protective of his sister. They were laughing at something I had done or said." Each detail was a stab to Michael's heart. His father was right there, memories struggling to surface but still trapped by years of denial and forgetfulness. "Joseph, what if these people were looking for you?" The old man opened his eyes, staring at Michael. "After all this time, impossible." "Why impossible? Family love doesn't have an expiration date. You don't understand, Michael. Even if these people exist, the man they knew is gone. Look at me, what's left?" "More than you think. I see kindness in your eyes, intelligence in your words. The man is still there." Joseph laughed bitterly. "You're young, idealistic. Life hasn't taught you yet that some things can't be fixed." "My father taught me it's always worth trying," Michael countered. "Then your father was more optimistic than realistic." "Maybe, but I'd rather have his optimism than cynicism." They fell silent, each lost in their thoughts. The sun began to set, painting the sky orange and pink. "I should go," Joseph finally said. "Thank you for the clothes. It's been a while since I've had anything clean to wear." "Joseph, wait." Michael pulled another photo from his pocket. This time, it was of the whole family. "Just look at this." "You don't have to say anything, just look." Joseph reluctantly took the photo. His eyes traced each face. The man in a suit, the woman in a floral dress, the smiling boy, the little girl in her arms. His hand began to tremble. A tear rolled down his cheek before he could stop it. "No, I can't." He tried to return the photo. "Keep it. Just hold on to it. You don't have to look if you don't want to." Joseph carefully tucked the photo into his pocket, as if it might explode. "Why are you doing this to me?" "Because I believe everyone deserves a second chance." "What if I don't want that chance?" "Then at least we tried," Michael replied simply. Joseph gathered his new belongings and started to walk away. He stopped after a few steps and turned back. "Michael, if I were your father, would you forgive me?" The question caught Michael completely off guard. He swallowed the lump in his throat before answering. "I forgave you a long time ago. I just wanted to understand." Joseph nodded slowly and walked away, leaving Michael with tears streaming freely down his face. That night, Joseph couldn't sleep. Lying in his spot under the overpass, wearing the clean clothes Michael had given him, he held the photo against his chest. The woman in the floral dress smiled at him across the years. He knew that smile. He knew those eyes. Sarah. The name came like lightning. Sarah. He sat up abruptly, his heart racing. Sarah, Michael, Emily. The names flowed now, breaking through the dam he had built. He remembered the day the photo was taken. Long Beach, summer of 2001. Emily had just turned 2. Michael had insisted on building the biggest sandcastle in the world. "Dad, help me here," the boy's voice echoed in his memory. "I need a reel." "Engineer!" The tears came pouring down. What had he done? How could he have abandoned those people who were his life? The lost promotion, the humiliation at work, the debts piling up, the drinking to forget, the fight with Sarah, the harsh words. What kind of man can't support his family? He had left that morning determined to fix everything. He would look for another job, prove his worth, but along the way the shame was too much. How could he face his children? How could he explain the failure? A stop at the bar to gather courage, then another, and another. When he woke up, he was in a different city with no ID, no money, no clear memory of how he'd gotten there. The fear of returning and seeing disappointment in his family's eyes was greater than anything. Better they thought he was dead. Better they moved on without the burden of a failure. But now, 22 years later, his son was there. Not the 11-year-old boy he'd left behind, but a grown man. A good, generous man who spent time and money on an unknown beggar. No, not unknown. Michael knew. From the very first moment, Michael knew. The realization hit him like a punch. His son had recognized him, and instead of anger or accusations had offered food, clothes, companionship, had offered forgiveness without even revealing who he was. How could he deserve a son like that? How had Sarah raised such good children? Alone? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing, the rest of the night passed in a torture of recovered memories. Each recollection brought pain and regret. Michael's first day of school, Emily's birth, the wedding with Sarah, precious moments he'd thrown away. When the sun rose, Joseph had made a decision. He couldn't run anymore. He couldn't hide behind convenient forgetfulness. Michael arrived at work exhausted. He'd spent the night awake, replaying the conversation with Joseph. The question about forgiveness had deeply affected him. During the morning meeting, he could barely pay attention. His secretary noticed his distraction. "Michael, are you okay? You look like you didn't sleep." "Just personal worries, Jennifer. Nothing serious." But it was serious. It was everything. His father was alive, starting to remember, and he didn't know how to handle the situation from here. His phone rang. Emily. "Mike, Mom's acting strange. She said she dreamed about Dad last night." Michael felt a chill. "What kind of dream?" "She said he was coming home. She woke up crying. It's been years since she had dreams like that. Could it be? Some inexplicable connection between them after all this time?" "I'll stop by at lunch," he promised. "Mike, you're not hiding anything from us, are you? Why do you ask?" "Sister's intuition. You've been different lately." "I'm processing some things, Em. When it's clearer, we'll talk." He hung up before she could press further. Emily had inherited her mother's persistence. By noon, he was at the house in Queens. Sarah was in the garden tending to the rose bushes Joseph had planted years ago. "Hi, Mom." "Michael, 2 visits in the same week." She smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. "Emily said you had a dream." Sarah sighed, removing her gardening gloves. It felt so real. Joseph was at the door, older, more tired. But it was him. He was asking for forgiveness. "And you? What did you say in the dream?" "That there was never anything to forgive, that I just wanted him back." Michael felt tears threatening. How could he tell her? How could he prepare her heart for the truth? "Mom, if Dad were alive, would you take him back?" Sarah looked at him, surprised. "What kind of question is that?" Just answer. After all this time, all the hurt, Michael, I loved your father since I was 17. That love didn't die when he left. It changed, it hurt, but it never died. If he walked through that door right now, I'd welcome him with open arms. Even if he were different, changed by the years. True love doesn't set conditions, son. I've learned that over all these years. Pride, anger, expectations, none of that matters next to love. Michael hugged his mother, hiding his face in her shoulder so she wouldn't see his tears. What's wrong, my boy? Why these questions? Nothing, Mom. I just wanted to make sure you're okay. They had lunch together, chatting about little things. Michael noticed every detail. Her hard-working hands, her now white hair, the wrinkles that told the story of years of waiting and hard work. His mother deserved the truth, but he needed to prepare everything carefully. Joseph had to be ready, too. At 6 o'clock he was back on Times Square, but Joseph wasn't in his usual spot. Panic rose in Michael's throat. Had he run away? Were the memories too much? He searched the area, asked other homeless people. No one had seen Joseph since morning. Just as he was about to head to the overpass, he spotted him. Joseph was sitting on the steps of a nearby church, wearing the clean clothes, his face shaved with the disposable razor Michael had included in the kit. Joseph, I thought you had... He stopped when he saw his father's face. His eyes were red from crying, but there was something different in them. Clarity, recognition, pain. Hi, son, Joseph said simply. Michael froze, the words he'd waited 22 years to hear again. Dad? His voice came out as a whisper. Forgive me, Michael. Please, forgive me. Joseph began to cry. Michael didn't think. He hugged his father tightly, both of them crying years of pain, longing, and regret. I already forgave you, Dad, a long time ago. I don't deserve it. I abandoned you. I was a coward. You're here now. That's what matters. They stayed embraced for long minutes, ignoring the curious glances of passers-by. 22 years of absence trying to be made up in a single hug. When they finally pulled apart, they sat on the church steps. How did you know? Joseph asked. From the first moment. The birthmark, the scar, the way you held your cup. And you said nothing, kept feeding me, talking to me. I needed to be sure, and you needed to remember on your own. Joseph took the photo from his pocket. I spent the night looking at it. Every face, every detail. How could I forget? How could I leave? What happened, Dad, that day? Joseph took a deep breath and told him. The humiliation at work, the debts, the drinking, the shame. The spiral that took him farther and farther from home. When the alcohol fog lifted, I was in another city. No ID, no money, and so afraid. Afraid to come back and see disappointment in your eyes. There was never disappointment, Dad, just longing. Your mother, how's Sarah? Strong as ever, still waiting for you. Joseph covered his face with his hands. I can't. Look at me. What's left of the man she loved? The important part. We'll rebuild the rest. Michael, I've lived on the streets for over 2 decades. I've done things. I'm not the father you remember anymore. I grew up, Dad. I know life isn't black and white. I know people make mistakes, fall, get lost. What matters is getting back up. And Emily? My little girl. She's 27 now, a teacher, beautiful and strong like her mother. Joseph smiled through tears. A teacher. She was always smart. She barely remembers you, but she keeps a photo of you in her wallet. That broke. Joseph all over again. His little girl had grown up without a father, holding on to just a photo and borrowed memories. I don't know if I can, Michael. Facing you all after everything, no one said it'd be easy, but we're family. We'll face it together. I need time. I need to prepare. Michael understood. He couldn't rush this. 22 years don't disappear in a day. How about we take it slow? A shower, clean clothes, a decent meal. I don't want charity. It's not charity, Dad. It's a son's love. The word dad still sounded strange, wonderful, and painful all at once. Where to? Joseph asked. My apartment. You'll stay there until you're ready. Michael, I can't just... Yes, you can and you will. No more living under bridges. No more cold and hunger. You're my father. Joseph stood up with difficulty. The years on the streets had taken their toll. Michael steadied him, noticing how much his father had aged, how fragile his body had become. In the car, Joseph looked around with wide eyes. How much the city had changed. So many new buildings, overpasses, avenues. You have a nice car, he remarked. I'm an engineer like you, project manager at a construction firm. Joseph smiled proudly. Always knew you'd be an engineer. Ever since you were little, building things. Learned from the best. They arrived at the apartment in the Upper East Side. Joseph hesitated at the door. Michael, are you sure? I could ruin your life. My life stopped 22 years ago, Dad. Only now is it starting. Again. The apartment was modern, well decorated. Joseph looked around with curiosity and a hint of shame. His son had thrived without him. The bathroom's right there. Clean towels, soap, shampoo. Take as long as you need. Joseph stepped into the bathroom and closed the door. He looked in the mirror for the first time in years. The face staring back was a stranger's. White hair, deep wrinkles, tired eyes. What would Sarah say if she saw this old man instead of the strong young husband she'd known? The shower was long, hot water, a forgotten luxury. Each stream washed away not just dirt, but years of denial and running. When he stepped out, Michael had made coffee. The aroma instantly took him back to family mornings. Still like it strong? Michael asked. Some things never change. Joseph accepted the cup. They sat at the kitchen table. Michael had prepared sandwiches, fruit, cake. You cook? Joseph asked, surprised. Mom taught me, said a man who can't cook, either starves or marries poorly. Joseph laughed. His first genuine laugh in decades. Sounds like her, always practical. Dad? Michael hesitated. When do you want to tell them? Fear flickered in Joseph's eyes. I don't know if I'm ready. Okay, but we can't wait too long. I've been lying for days already. Do you think they'll accept me? Mom said today that if you showed up at the door, she'd welcome you with open arms. She said that? Her love never died, Dad. It changed, it hurt, but it never died. Joseph began to cry again. So much love wasted, so much life lost. I need to look presentable first. Get a haircut, shave properly. Can't show up looking like a... Dad, Michael interrupted. They don't care about appearances. They care that you're alive. I care. I've got my pride, what little's left. Michael understood. His father needed some dignity back before facing the family. Tomorrow we'll book a barber, buy new clothes, whatever you need. I'm scared, Michael. Scared of hurting them again. They're stronger than you think. They survived your absence, they'll survive your presence. They spent the night talking. Joseph wanted to know everything. How Michael's teenage years had been, college, his first job, Emily dating, wedding plans delayed, Sarah working as a seamstress, then opening her own shop. She was always talented, Joseph remarked. Made the most beautiful dresses. Still does, has loyal clients for years. And were you happy? Despite everything? Michael thought before answering. We were incomplete. But yes, we had happy moments. Mum wouldn't let sadness swallow us. She's amazing. Yeah, you were lucky, Dad. I was, and I threw it away. There's still time to fix it. Around midnight, Michael made up the guest bed. Joseph stepped inside, hesitant. It's been so long since I slept in a bed. Now you'll sleep in one every night. Michael, thank you for not giving up on me. Family doesn't give up, Dad. Good night. Michael went to his room but couldn't sleep. His father was there, in the next room. After 22 years, sleeping under the same roof. In the morning, he woke up to the smell of coffee. He found Joseph in the kitchen making breakfast. Sorry, I didn't want to mess with your things, but I woke up early and... Dad, this is your home too now. They had coffee together, planning the day. Barber, clothes, maybe a doctor, for a checkup. I need to work a few hours, Michael explained, but I'll be back for lunch. I can be alone. I promise I won't run away, Joseph joked. It's not that. I know, son. Go to work. I'll be here. At the office, Michael could barely concentrate. Jennifer noticed the change. Now you're smiling way too much. Yesterday you were sad. Today you're glowing. What happened? I resolved an important family matter. That's great. You deserve to be happy, Michael. If only she knew, he thought. His father was alive, at home, getting ready to reunite with the family. Emily called mid-morning. Mike, you won't believe it. Mom woke up singing today. Singing. She said she feels something good is going to happen. That's great, Em. Seriously, she's different. She even booked a hair appointment, said she wants to look pretty. Women and their intuition. Michael deflected. Are you coming for dinner tonight? She's making lasagna again. Maybe, I'll let you know later. When he came home for lunch, he found Joseph in the bedroom, looking at photos on the phone Michael had left behind. Sorry, I was curious. It's fine, they're your photos too, your family. Emily is beautiful. She looks so much like Sarah when she was young. She has her personality too, strong, determined. And this is the boyfriend. Jack and they broke up a few months ago. She said he wasn't the right man. Good thing she didn't marry the wrong one. They had lunch and went to the mall. Joseph hesitated at first. Crowded places made him anxious after years of isolation. But Michael was patient. At the barber, the stylist worked carefully, transforming the homeless man into a distinguished gentleman. Haircut, beard trimmed, even eyebrows shaped. Wow, Michael said. You look just like in the old photos. Joseph looked at himself in the mirror, emotional. The reflection resembled the man he remembered being. They bought simple but dignified clothes, pants, shirts, shoes. With each piece, Joseph regained a bit of his lost identity. How much are you spending on me? He worried. Dad, I make good money, and I don't have a family to spend it on. Well, I didn't. Back at the apartment, Joseph tried on the new clothes. Michael took pictures. What's that for? For Mom to see you're doing well, when we tell her. The mention of Sarah made Joseph serious again. Michael, I need to tell you some things about these years. You don't have to. Yes, I do. If I'm going back to the family, there can't be secrets. They sat in the living room. Joseph talked about the early years, the drinking to forget, the odd jobs, the cold nights, how he learned to survive on the streets, the invisibility that both protected and trapped him. There were times I thought about ending it all, he confessed, but something stopped me. Maybe the hope that one day, you'd come back. That one day I deserve to come back. You always deserve to, Dad. A mistake doesn't define a person. You grew up wise, son. I had good examples, you before you left, and Mom all these years. Michael's phone rang. Emily again. Mike, you have to come for dinner. Mom is acting weird. Good weird. She cooked enough food for an army. Michael looked at Joseph, who had heard the conversation. Go, his father said. They need you. Come with me. Not yet. Soon, but not yet. Michael left, promising to return early. At the house in Queens, there really was food for an army. Mom, what's all this? I don't know, son. I woke up wanting to cook. I made all the dishes your father loved. Emily and Michael Johnson exchanged glances. The connection between their parents was eerie. Mom, Emily said gently, Dad isn't coming back for dinner. I know, dear, but it's good to be prepared, isn't it? During dinner, Sarah was radiant. She told old stories, laughed, even served wine. You must think I'm losing my mind, she said at one point. No, Mom, we think you're happy, Michael replied. I am. I don't know why, but I am. When Michael returned to the apartment, he found Joseph on the balcony, looking at the city. How was it? Strange, Mom is sensing something. We've always had that connection since we were young. Dad, I think we need to tell her soon. I know, tomorrow. We'll go tomorrow. Are you sure? No. But if I wait until I'm sure, I'll never be ready. That night, neither of them slept well. Michael ran through possible reactions. Joseph fought the urge to run away again. In the morning, they had coffee in silence. Joseph put on his best new clothes, sprayed the cologne Michael had bought him. Do I look like someone worth keeping? He asked nervously. You look like my dad, Michael answered. In the car, the tension was palpable. Joseph was sweating, his hands shaking. What if she doesn't want me back? Impossible. What if Emily doesn't recognize me? Let's take it slow. They arrived in Queens mid-morning. Michael had called to make sure they'd both be home. At the door, Joseph froze. "I can't do it." "Yes, you can. I'm right here with you." Michael rang the bell. Footsteps approached. The door opened. Sarah appeared, smiling. Her smile faded when she saw Joseph. For long seconds, no one moved. "Joseph?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Hi, Sarah," he replied, tears already falling. She took a step forward, then another. Raised. A trembling hand touched his face. "Is it really you? Forgive me, Sarah, please." She hugged him tightly, both crying. 22 years of longing, pain, and pent-up love poured out in that embrace. "Mom, what's—" Emily appeared and stopped, stunned. Michael went to her. It's Dad." "No, it can't be." Joseph pulled away from Sarah, looking at his daughter. "Emily, my little girl." Emily looked at Michael, at her mother, at the stranger claiming to be her father. Then she saw the birthmark, the scar, the eyes that matched hers. "Dad?" Her voice broke. "Forgive me, daughter. Forgive me for missing so much." Emily ran into his arms. The family was whole again, hugging on the doorstep, crying over years lost. They went inside, still dazed. Sarah wouldn't let go of Joseph's hand, as if afraid he'd vanish again. Where have you been?" she asked. "It's a long story," Joseph said. "An ugly, shameful one. It doesn't matter, you're here now." They sat in the living room, the same room where they'd shared so many happy moments. Joseph told them everything, the shame, the running, the years on the streets, the memory loss. "Why didn't you come back?" Emily asked, hurt clear in her voice. "Because I was a coward, because I thought you'd be better off without me." "We were never better without you," Sarah said firmly. "Never." "I know that now, Michael showed me." They all looked at Michael. "You knew?" Emily accused. "How long?" "A few days. I had to be sure, prepare him." "Don't be angry with your brother," Joseph intervened. "He did everything right. Gave me my dignity back before bringing me home." They spent hours talking, crying, trying to fill the gap of 2 decades. Sarah made lunch, all of Joseph's favorite dishes, as if she'd known. "You haven't changed a thing in the house," Joseph observed. "I was waiting for you to come back," she said simply. By afternoon, neighbors began noticing the unusual activity. Mrs. Gladys, the neighborhood gossip, nearly fainted when she saw Joseph. "It can't be. Joseph Johnson!" The news spread quickly. The man who had disappeared 22 years ago was back. Some welcomed him with joy, others with suspicion. Where had he been? Why was he returning now? Joseph faced every glance, every question. He didn't hide the truth. He had been on the streets, lost in himself. Shame was part of the story. "The important thing is that he's back," old Frank, an old friend, said. "Family is family." By nightfall, they were emotionally exhausted. Joseph looked at every corner of the house, rediscovering memories. "My room." He stopped at the door of the master bedroom. "Our room," Sarah corrected. "It's always been ours." "Sarah, I can't just—" "You're my husband. This is your home, your bed. After everything I've done? Joseph, I waited 22 years for you. Do you think I'll let you sleep on the couch now?" Michael and Emily exchanged glances. Their parents' love had survived the impossible. "I'll stay a few days," Michael announced. "Help with the readjustment." "I'll take some time off work too," Emily said. For the first time in 22 years, the Johnson family was complete. The following days were about readjusting. Joseph rediscovered domestic routines, the family learning to live together again. There were difficult moments. Emily exploded. "On the 3rd day, you have no idea what we went through. Mom working late, Michael growing up too fast, me growing up without a father." Joseph accepted every harsh word. It was the price he had to pay. "You're right. I have no excuse. I can only ask for forgiveness and try to make it up." "You can't." "I make up 22 years. Sarah tried to intervene. "No, Mom, he needs to hear this." Emily poured out years of pain, school events without a father, blank Father's Days, unanswered questions. Joseph cried as he listened. Every word was deserved. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. More than words can say." Emily cried too, exhausted. "I want to forgive you, but it hurts so much. I know it doesn't have to be today, we have time now. Little by little, they found a new balance. Joseph began helping around the house, fixing things that had been broken for years. His hands still remembered the craft. Still a great engineer, Michael remarked, watching his father repair the roof. Some things you never forget. Sarah smiled like she used to. She cooked Joseph's favorite meals, rearranged the closet to fit his clothes. It's like I never left, Joseph said one evening. To me, you never really did, Sarah replied. Physical intimacy returned slowly. First, holding hands, then longer hugs. The first kiss was shy, like teenagers. Michael returned to his apartment after a week, but visited daily. Emily also resumed her routine, but with something new, a father to call, visit, talk to. Dad, she said one day, I want you to meet my new boyfriend. New boyfriend? Joseph brightened at the chance to play a fatherly role. Easy, it's still new, but I want your opinion. It was a small step, but meaningful. Emily was including her father in her life. Social reintegration was more complicated. Joseph needed new documents, explanations for 2 missing decades. I'll help with the paperwork, Michael offered. And work? Who'll hire a 63-year-old engineer who's been gone 22 years? We'll figure something out, maybe consulting, small projects. I don't want to be a burden. Dad, you worked hard to support us for years. Now it's our turn. But Joseph had his pride. He started with small jobs, repairs in the neighborhood. Word spread that Engineer Johnson was back and available. Soon he had more work than he could handle. Small projects, but they gave him purpose and dignity. I'm earning my own money again, he said proudly, showing his first paycheck. We never doubted you could, Sarah kissed him. There were relapses, nights when Joseph would wake up in panic, thinking he was back on the streets. Moments when the guilt was so overwhelming he considered leaving again. You're not going anywhere, Sarah said firmly after one of these episodes. We've already lost too much time. They sought professional help. The psychiatrist Michael had mentioned took on the case. The sessions were painful but necessary. Abandonment trauma is complex, the doctor explained. Both for those who leave and those who are left behind. You all need time and patience. Family therapy helped. Each could express their pain and expectations in a safe space. I'm so afraid of waking up and finding out this was all a dream, Sarah confessed in one session. I'm afraid of disappointing you all again, Joseph admitted. I'm afraid of getting attached and losing you again, Emily revealed. I'm afraid I won't be strong enough to keep everyone together, Michael added. The therapist addressed each fear, showing they were normal and could be overcome with shared effort. 6 months after his return, the family was stronger. It wasn't perfect, the scars remained, but there was enough love to keep trying. Joseph regained his weight and health. Sarah looked rejuvenated. Emily finally introduced her boyfriend, who was thoroughly interrogated by her father. Michael found a girlfriend, someone who understood the complexity of his family's story. We're all moving forward, Sarah observed one Sunday as they gathered for lunch. Together, Joseph finished, holding her hand. A year later, they renewed their wedding vows, a simple ceremony at the neighborhood church with close family and friends. I promise never to run away again, Joseph said in his vows. I promise to face every challenge by your side. I promise to remind you every day that you are loved and wanted, Sarah replied. That this is your home. Emily was the maid of honor, crying throughout the ceremony. Michael was the best man, proud of the family he'd helped rebuild. The celebration was in their backyard. Neighbors brought dishes, music filled the air. It was more than a vow renewal. It was a celebration of resilience and forgiveness. Give a speech, Mike, Emily asked. Michael stood up, emotional. 2 years ago, our family was incomplete. We functioned, but a vital piece was missing. When I found my father on that street, I saw not just the man who had left, but the man who could return. Thank you, Dad, for having the courage to come back. Thank you, Mom, for never giving up. Thank you, Em, for opening your heart again. This family proves true love overcomes time, distance, and pain. A toast to my parents. Everyone raised their glasses, tears mixing with smiles. Joseph then asked to speak. For 22 years, I believed my family was better off without me. It was the biggest mistake of my life. Every day on the streets reminded me of what I'd lost. But you showed me it's never too late to start. Over. Sarah, you're the strongest woman I know. You waited for me when I didn't deserve it. Michael, you found me when I'd given up on myself. Emily, you gave me the chance to be a father again. I won't promise perfection, but I promise to be. Here, every day for the rest of my days. The party lasted well into the night. Joseph danced with Sarah, Emily, even with Mrs. Gladys. He was home, whole, redeemed. 2 years passed. Life found a new rhythm. Joseph set up a small design office. Sarah expanded her studio. Michael was promoted to director. Emily got married, with Joseph proudly walking her down the aisle. "Dad," she said before entering the church, "thank you for being here." "Thank you for letting me be," he replied, kissing her forehead. Their first grandchild came the following year. Joseph held the baby with trembling hands. "Hi, Grandpa," Sarah said. "How does it feel?" Like he'd been given a third chance to make things right. They created new family traditions, sacred Sunday lunches, trips they'd never taken before, conversations they'd never had. "You know," Joseph said during one of those trips, gazing at the ocean, "sometimes I think I needed to get lost to appreciate what I had." "Don't romanticize it," Sarah gently scolded. "Those were years of unnecessary suffering." "I know, but I learned that real family never gives up. You all taught me that." There were moments when the past demanded its due. Joseph developed health problems from the years of hardship, but he faced every challenge with his family by his side. "I'm not going anywhere," he'd say when the others worried. "I have so much time to make up for." 5 years after his return, the family was unrecognizable from when our story began. Whole, healed, strong. Michael got married too. In his wedding speech, he thanked his parents. "You taught me that, true. Love survives anything. That forgiveness is possible. That family is forever. I hope to build something as strong with my wife as you two have built." Joseph cried as he listened. Each tear washed away a little more of the guilt he still carried. Emily had her second child. She named him Joseph Michael, after her father and brother. "That's a lot of responsibility for one name," Joseph joked. "He'll handle it. He has the best examples," Emily replied. Sunday afternoons filled with grandchildren running through the yard. Joseph built wooden toys, taught them engineering tricks. He was the grandfather he'd always dreamed of being. "Grandpa, tell us the story of when you came back," the kids would beg. "It's a long story. We have time." And Joseph would tell it, a child-friendly version, about how sometimes people get lost, but family love always brings them home. Sarah watched him in those moments, her heart full. The man she loved was there, present, engaged. His wrinkles told stories of pain, but his eyes shone with renewed hope. One such afternoon, 10 years after his return, with the whole family gathered, Joseph stood to speak. "I want to say thank you. Every day I wake up grateful, but today I want to say it out loud. Sarah, you're my miracle. You waited when there was no hope. You loved me when I didn't love myself. Michael, you rescued me in every way. You saw beyond the homeless man. You saw your father. Emily, you forgave me when I couldn't forgive myself. You gave me the chance to be a father again, to know your children, to my grandchildren, sons-in-law, daughter-in-law. You complete this family. I was a fool who had to lose everything to understand what I had. But God, fate, the universe, something gave me a second chance. I promise to honor that chance every day I have left." Everyone cried. Hugs were exchanged. Love hung palpable, in the air. "We're thankful too," Sarah spoke for them all, "that you found your way back, that you had the courage to stay, that you taught us it's never too late." "To the Johnson family," Michael toasted. "2 second chances," Emily added. "To love that never gives up," Sarah finished. They raised their glasses, savoring not just the wine but the sweetness of redemption, forgiveness and unconditional love. Life went on, with the normal challenges any family faces, but now they faced them together. Every obstacle was a chance to prove their rebuilt bond was unbreakable. Joseph lived to 82. He passed peacefully at home, surrounded by family. His last words were for Sarah. "Thank you for waiting. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for forgiving me." "Thank you for coming back," she answered, "for staying, for loving me in return." At the funeral, hundreds came. Joseph Johnson's story had become legend in the neighborhood. The man who was lost and found, who fell and rose again, who failed and was forgiven. Michael spoke at the burial. "My father taught me many lessons, first when I was a boy, about honesty and hard work. Then when he left, he unintentionally taught me about pain and overcoming. And finally, when he returned, about courage, forgiveness, and the strength of family love. He wasn't perfect. He made mistakes that marked our lives. But he had something many don't, the humility to acknowledge his mistakes and the courage to try to make amends. Dad, thank you for all the lessons. Thank you for all the rest knowing you are loved and forgiven." Emily also spoke, her voice choked. "I grew up without a father for 22 years. When he came back, I had to learn to be a daughter again. It wasn't easy. There was anger, hurt, misunderstanding. But there was also love, so much love. My father gave me something precious in his final years, the certainty that I was loved, that I had always been loved, even in his absence. Dad, thank you for the years we had. They were enough to heal the wounds of the lost years." Sarah was the last to speak. "Joseph was my first and only love. When he disappeared, part of me died, but part of me kept waiting, believing. When he returned, we were reborn together. The last 15 years were gifts. Every day a blessing, every kiss a confirmation that the wait was worth it. Joseph, my love, rest now. I'll take care of our legacy. This beautiful family we built, lost, and rebuilt, until we meet again." Joseph was buried to the sound of "How Great Is My Love for You," the song he always sang for Sarah. The tombstone bore a simple inscription: Joseph Johnson, husband, father, grandfather, lost but found, 1960-2042. After the funeral, the family gathered at home. The table was set, food plentiful, just as Joseph liked. "He wouldn't want sadness," Sarah said. "He'd want gratitude for the time we had." They shared stories, laughed at Joseph's bad jokes, cried with longing. But it wasn't bitter mourning, it was a celebration of a life reclaimed. The grandchildren, now teens and young adults, shared memories of their grandfather. "Grandpa taught me that a mistake isn't the end," said Joseph Michael. "It's a chance to start over. He showed me that courage isn't about not being afraid," added his granddaughter Emma. "It's about facing it anyway." The family remained united after the loss. The bond forged in pain and rebuilt in love was too strong to break. Sarah lived 5 more years. She passed away smiling, saying she was going to reunite with her Joseph. Michael and Emily made sure they were buried side by side. On Sarah's tombstone, Sarah Johnson, wife, mother, grandmother, waited with faith, loved without limits, 1962-2047. On the day of Sarah's burial, Michael found a letter addressed to him and Emily. "My beloved children, if you're reading this, I've gone to meet your father. Don't cry for me. I lived 2 full lives, one before his return, one after. The first taught me about strength, the second about forgiveness. Together they made me whole. Take care of each other. Tell our story to your children, not as a tragedy, but as proof that true love transcends everything. Your father and I made mistakes, got things right, lost each other and found each other again. But we always loved each other. That's what matters in the end. Be happy. Love without fear. Forgive always. Life is too short to hold on to grudges. With eternal love, Mum." The siblings cried in each other's arms. Then they laughed, remembering their parents. The legacy would live on through them, their children, their grandchildren. Years later, Michael, now elderly, told the story to his great-grandchildren. "Once upon a time, there was a man who loved his family so much he thought they'd be better off without him. But he was wrong, right, Grandpa?" His great-granddaughter interrupted. "Very wrong, because real families are better together, even in hard times. And Grandma Sarah waited all that time?" "She waited, because when you truly love, hope never dies." "I'd wait too," the little girl decided. "I hope you never have to, my love. But if you do, remember, True love always finds its way back home. The story of Joseph and Sarah Johnson became part of the family's lore. Each generation retold it, adapted it, but the essence remained: love, loss, reunion, forgiveness, redemption. Somewhere Joseph and Sarah smiled. Their love story, imperfect and beautiful, would continue to inspire as long as there were Johnsons to tell it. The suffering had turned into strength, the absence into renewed presence, the mistake into a lesson. The family, broken and rebuilt, stood as a monument to the power of true love. And so the man who gave food to the beggar and discovered he was his father didn't just recover what he had lost. He multiplied it in love, forgiveness, and second chances that would extend for generations. The end of the story. And you, dear listener, what did you think of this touching journey? Have you lived or known someone who has lived a similar story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe Joseph deserved his family's forgiveness? We'd love to know where you're watching from and how this story touched your heart. If it moved you, don't forget to leave a like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more soul-warming stories. Thank you so much for staying with us until the end.